All righty, guys. Welcome, welcome, one and all. Thank you so much for joining me. This is your host, of course, IDJESTER. Got a special guest tonight. He'll be on shortly. As you know, we're running a little bit behind schedule. 8:30 start tonight. He had something scheduled. He'll be on shortly with us. I do have to monitor my email just to make sure he got the link and everything is okay with him. But he should be on within the next 5 or 10 minutes. No problem. I appreciate everyone showing up tonight. Big thank you. Big round of applause. Thank you. Thank all of you out there. So thank you very much. Specifically, we're talking about Larry Rice, Stratomatic Delaware, Ken Castro, Dylan Dew. And notice I did say the name wrong again. Damn it. Dylan Dew. Damn it. Dylan. I've been practicing. Why do I get it wrong? My fault, not yours. Welcome, Dylan Dew. And Ken Castro, my friend, how are you tonight? So Bubba Husky is here as well. Thank everyone for showing up. As I mentioned, Tenacious Strat will be with us just shortly. So a few things we got to take care of before he's going to come on. I told him to take his time because we got some few things to introduce. So hopefully you guys have been checking out my channel. We got a brand new project we started yesterday. With National Pastime Next Generation Plus. We're doing the 2017 season one and done tournament like we did a couple years ago. This time we're going to be using the Next Generation National Pastime Next Generation Plus baseball cards. We did a live stream yesterday. Last night it went actually long into the evening, a lot longer than it should have, and they grand salami to win it in the bottom of the 14th inning. So check out that. Check out our intro video where we show the bracket breakdown for everyone, show you who's playing who in the first round of our one and done tournament. All 30 teams have a chance to become the world champion. So check out that. So appreciate everyone coming out tonight and supporting our live chat. I will let you know, I just actually got an email from a subscriber on my channel for a long time. He's not a baseball guy. He's more of a war gamer guy. You know, my channel first started mostly war games and such, but he's like, I just wanted to email you and let you know I really, really like your live streams you do where you interview people, your live chats, and they're great job. Keep it up, and I really appreciate it. So big kudos goes out to all the interviewees so far. Stratomatic Delaware, which is now, if you come to my channel, his interview from a couple weeks ago is the intro video to let everyone know what's going on our channel because a great job Stratomatic Delaware did. Baseball demos, Bleacher Bum Gaming, Ron from Retro Sports Gaming, and of course, not to be outdone, Dave Little from last week. So big kudos to all you guys out there for taking your time and coming on and just sharing a little bit about yourselves with myself and our community and letting us know a little bit about yourselves. So again, a big hand out there for you guys. If you have not signed up for your interview, you've not done that yet, you need to do that. Why have you not done that? Everyone enjoys listening to you, enjoys watching you, do your stuff on your channel. Just come on and talk with us and spend a little time getting to know you a little bit about yourself. Email me. You'll see the link in there because I've already seen Stratomatic Delaware, one of my all-time favorite YouTubers out there. Moderator extraordinaire Stratomatic has already probably, I haven't even looked, he's probably already put the link in there. You'll need to know. Email me and I'll look. Oh, and look, there it is. Ladies and gentlemen, he is on the ball. And a big, also, to be serious for just a second, because we don't get too serious on my channel, a big shout out and applause once again for all my moderators out there that have kept everything on the up and up during our live stream, because I don't have a lot of time to actually sit down and watch the chat and converse with what's going on in the chat. The moderators, Beatles Eternally, Stratomatic Delaware, Retro Sports Gaming, uh, Clinton Parks, Al Red Sox Band. They all done a great job of keeping it clean, keep getting the crud out of the chat, and keeping everyone entertained in the chat as well. So big thank you from me to our moderators out there for doing that. So big thank you anyways. So it's live in person, and it looks like we have our special guest tonight has finally arrived. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor, my privilege to talk to you tonight with Tenacious Earl. Good evening, sir.
Hey man, how's it going?
It's going good, going good. I told him you were going to be just running a few minutes late. We had a few things to cover, anyways.
Well,
How is your?
oh great, you talked about them cleaning it up and then you let me in, which kind of like defeats the purpose. I feel like cleaning up the chat. So
That's it. Now, our moderators. I know you weren't here last week. We had one, maybe two or three guys. Maybe it was one guy that kept coming in. And my moderators are like a pack of hungry wolves. As soon as somebody puts something in, they all spam them out. And it's just been awesome because, I don't have to worry about what's being said in the chat and everything. So a big thank you to everyone that has done that for us. Anyways, Tenacious Earl, can you give us just people that haven't come to your channel for a while or don't regularly follow you, kind of just give us the broad overview of what you like to do on your channel?
well, I like to roll cards and dice games. We do. I have a partnership with Tabletop Earl. Funny, we both have the name Earl. We spell it differently, but uh, I focus on some baseball, some soccer, some golf, some football. I'd say that it's pretty diverse. But when I get going, I tend to get going on one project, and I'd say my projects also tend to be lengthy, which may not necessarily be great for a channel, but it's kind of the way that I've done things is get involved in a project that's many games and just play them out. And there are a lot of people that do this cards and dice gaming that are into that. But I, also like and hope through playing the games that there's some teaching moments, some strategy, some people learning how to play the games by watching other people play it, and maybe concocting some little home rules and things like that that can help tweak out some things that you don't necessarily like in the game. So that's kind of what we do. Sometimes we have some little fun chats as well, but for the most part, it's rolling games and just trying to relax for the most part.
That's great. That is awesome. Now, you're Tenacious. Is it Tenacious Earl or is it Tenacious Strat? Because I've seen both.
Okay. Well, it started out as Tenacious Strat because so it was based off of the Tenacious Baseball League. That's the league I run. And the reason it was Tenacious was that there were 10 teams in it. So I just took 10 and I was trying to think of words that kind of sounded cool. And I was like, okay, well, there's like tender baseball league. That kind of sounds a little soft, and tenacious, that sounded like a word that had a little bit of, a little bit to it. So I guess, and then when, we may talk about it a little later, but when we kind of came together and we, Tabletop Earl and I did some head-to-head stuff, we had to keep each other separate. He was Earl, I was Earl. Okay, so he's Tabletop Earl because that was his channel, and I was Tenacious Earl because that was my channel, and it was just that's kind of the way it sorted out. But
All right.
I
So,
wouldn't necessarily consider myself tenacious, but just
I
fit.
I find that very interesting. That it's for you guys at home. If you haven't been to his channel, it's Tabletop Baseball, and you can get the link. Great moderators again. I've already put the link in the chat if you haven't been to his channel.
Thank you.
But you have actually hooked up with another sports simmer. And why don't you kind of just talk about that, if you would, just kind of how that came into being, because you don't, like myself, I have my channel, it's me. If I die tomorrow, my channel is dead, right? But your channel, you've actually hooked up with another person, and you guys work together
Mhm.
on your stuff. So why don't you just talk a little bit about how that came to being, and the pros and cons you might have come across, because I think there might be some people in our chat, or maybe that watch this video later, that are like, hey, do I do X, Y, and Z on my channel, and my channel's really small, but maybe if I got with some other people and we formed a bigger channel, maybe maybe we get a bigger community or something. So why don't you just kind of go through the what happened, how it came of being, and advice you would give people that might be looking to hook up with other people.
I mean, that's a great question. I think, when I started doing the Tenacious Strat channel, basically there were a few YouTubers out there that were doing the rolling of the Sims, and Tabletop Earl was one of them on Tabletop Baseball. There's baseball demos. You had him on before. Um, Steve Tower After Further Review, and Al Wilson, they did some game demos and things like that. And I'm sure there were some others as well. I mean, I don't think we were the first or anything like that. I'm sure there are plenty of others that came before us. But when I was kind of getting into that, it's kind of like a cycle. I think some die off, others come in, and so when I came in, uh, Earl was one of the ones who I thought did it really well, and he inspired me to, kind of some of the stylistic stuff. I think we all kind of like take a little bit from each other, and we take stuff from listening to baseball on the radio or on the television. This is a lot of play-by-play stuff. So I admired him to begin with. I got into some of his, comment section, and when he started, then we started doing some live stream stuff, and got in on that and interacted with some people, and then we kind of hatched the idea of, let's try to do something head to head. We're both Earl. And so we did the Battle of the Earls, which lasted for a couple months until kind of coming together for one night each week just got to be a little bit crazy. Schedules were messed up. But it was during that I started thinking to myself, we have similar maybe world views, and he's a nice guy. I mean, I don't know if I'm a nice guy, but I try to be. And we kind of do the same things. We were both doing baseball simming. He has a lot of other games that he does. I was pretty much strat alone for a long time. But then I wrapped up my league, and he was like, "You want to join my channel?" And I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, I'm not sure I want to, because like you said, you start doing your own thing and it's yours, and you have ownership of it. And um, I don't know, I guess I just figured that he had more followers than I did, and um, I don't know, I guess I just decided that it would allow me to open up my viewership a little bit more, to be on a channel that had a more established subscriber base. And I could hopefully bring some of the people that I had that maybe he didn't, and he had some people that be um, would like my style, and I had some people that would like his style, and we'd kind of like join together. And not to mention, it would create a channel where there'd be sort of constant content coming through. If one of us got in a little bit of I mean, this is hobby stuff. I mean, I mean, a lot of this is just, you can go through some dead periods in hobbies, and sometimes I've had a lot of hobbies where I just drop out. And fortunately for this, it hasn't happened. I think there's so many different things you can be doing that there's always something fresh that you can jump to. But it was nice to have, when, let's say, he went on vacation, I'd kind of kick up some of my production, and then if I had some time that I needed off, he could sort of ramp up what he was doing. And we don't really cross paths too much, which is kind of nice. That might be another thing you might want to consider. It's good to have some commonality, but it's also good to have sort of your uniqueness. Earl doesn't do a lot of long-term stuff. a lot of his stuff is shorter term. He seems to like pitcher replays. Now he is doing, I think, a Brewers full season replay right now, but that's kind of the oddity for him to do something that's going to take months. He's usually hitting streaks, winning streaks, 20 game, 30 game, 40 game. Whereas I'm like a 270 game project.
Right,
That's my
right.
kind of thing. I like the science behind it, and so I guess that's it. So the cons, I don't know. I don't know as there's too many. I think sometimes, like you say, you may want to do things that you might not feel the most comfortable. You're not sure how the other person feels about it. It also, if you want to be more expressive, can you be expressive in the way that you want to be? Are you going to jeopardize his morals? I'm not a real bombastic, I'm pretty straight laced as well, but there's always that fear that you might take it in a direction that he might not approve, or your partner not approve. So you don't have. I have plenty of control of what I put out there, but there's always that possibility that he says, "Yeah, I don't think that's good," and then I'd have to say to myself, "Well, is it really worth me going?" I don't think he's going to make me back off, but it's that's part of it. Like you say, when you have your own channel, you have stylistic control, and you're kind of giving that up when you're going to come together. But
All right. I think that is
yeah,
an excellent, excellent answer. And for anyone out there that's thinking about joining up with someone else, I think you kind of laid out exactly the pitfalls and the bonuses. Like you said, if you get sick for a week or something, there's still content coming to the channel because the other guy is going to be still doing his thing. So, if I go on vacation for 2 weeks, then nothing's going to be uploaded on my channel, and nothing happens. So, but like you said, you also have these pitfalls where it's like, I would like to do this, but is the other guy going to like that? Is he going to be offended? Kind of thing. So great answer. Awesome.
the one last thing I'll just mention, because I don't want it to be taboo or anything like that, but there's this, we're on YouTube, there's monetization, and there's always the chance that you end up hooking up with somebody that doesn't do you right, so you got to have a good feel for the person, that they're an honest person, that you're both in it for the same reasons. And if it's something where you're looking to try and be able to help fund your pursuits through the tabletop, or in your case some computer gaming as well, or whatever, if you want to do a partnership, then you just want to make sure you're not going to get into something where they you know
Right.
do
Right.
you wrong, yeah,
Right.
jilt you,
Right.
and then you're because that can lead to some hard feelings for sure. But
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
anyway.
Anyways, let's just introduce a few more people that just arrived. We have Bobby Castellano. We also have Robbie. Robbie is slowly but surely becoming a pillar of our community. Every live stream I go to, Robbie is there. So he is definitely very involved in our sports gaming community. We also have baseball demos that we already talked about, interviewing him, and what a great job he has got, and all of the things coming on his channel. And speaking of baseball demos, and I don't want to take anything away from Tenacious Earl, but I do want to mention for everyone out there, Baseball Demos wants to get a project going where he takes IDJESTER's team and Beatles Eternally, and he creates a baseball team of all the different YouTubers out there and pits them against one another in History Maker Baseball, where he can create the actual cards for you. If you have not watched this video, go check it out on his channel, Baseball Demos. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you let him know you're interested. Email him or leave a comment on that, because I'd love to see the ID Jester team beat down Beatles Eternally and his team. So check out Baseball Demos, what he's got with that project. That'll be a lot of fun, and get everyone in our community involved in a project like that. So great idea. Baseball Demos came up with. So Astros is here as well. Southpaw, good evening to Mr. Southpaw. and everyone else. I think Clinton Parks is also here. I don't see any posts from him for a while, but he was here earlier. So we have a growing community. Guys, show some love to our guest tonight. Hit that like button and let him know how much you appreciate him coming on and sharing all his information and his knowledge.
Thank you.
We
Oh,
also
and
have
this
APBA chatter as well. So thank you for showing up.
and this is for Southpaw. I'm giving it the
There,
old,
give him the
lefty.
southpaw.
Yeah.
Uh, I really enjoy the videos that you produce. I also think the other Earl, he does a great job as well. Now,
Thank you.
I've been to a couple of his live streams, and I think he does a great job. He's awesome. He's precise. He's respectful. I mean, he does a great job. The only thing we kind of disagree on, and I've mentioned it to him a couple times. He's a big DH guy, and I am not a big DH guy. We kind of go round and round about it in a very polite manner, but I still think he does a great job on his channel as well. And I'm sure you support him and everything that he's done to kind of build his channel up. Um,
hmm
Now, I noticed when you put out your games on your channel, you've done a lot of different sports games. You've done racing, you've done soccer, you've done obviously some baseball and stuff. So, what is as a YouTuber, what is your favorite sport to sim?
My favorite sport to sim. Um, it's funny. It probably changes week to week. If I once I start doing something, yeah, I guess the golf I really like most because that's the sport that that's basically my favorite sport. If I had the money, that's what I would do with my free time is go out and hit the links. And the History Maker Golf was it was a nice addition to my collection. I did a full tour with that, and actually two because I did sort of the if everybody remembers the Nike tour in the day.
Yeah, I
Sort of the
remember
under
that.
tour, yeah.
I
So it's
remember
called
that.
I
I
called
sure
it
do.
mine the Slacker, and because instead of Tenacious, I figured Slacker's sort of the
I hate to interrupt you, but I just thought of an idea because we just talked about what baseball demos did.
yeah.
Can you create cards for golfers in History Maker Golfer?
I've already done some of that,
Okay,
and
I
but
thought
yeah,
you had created some cards in your
yeah,
one thing. Maybe if you get time, project you create cards for all of us different YouTube sports simmers out there, and you put us into a tournament, live stream it so we can come watch. That would be awesome.
yeah. There's definitely already some cards made up for a lot of the people that have subscribed to our channel. So
Okay.
it would just be adding a few other cards that would represent the great simmers and YouTubers and all that good stuff that we can get in there. And yeah, we could try that at some point here in the next couple months because it's been a long time since I played a golf match. It's um, it's not. I've been waiting for Play to release their next update of the fictional players because that's kind of how I would get started with my next season of it. But yeah, I could do a little one-off tournament here and there to
There you go. Kind
just
of break it
spice
up,
it up.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
give a little
Awesome.
bit of give a
Got a
little bit
couple.
of yeah.
Yeah, we got a couple more new arrivals. Todd B. We also have Rob Explanation Point, and we have Larry Rice. So thank you guys for showing up. I do appreciate it. Tenacious Earl, Tenacious Strat. Either one is
Yeah, whatever you
okay.
want to.
um, so if I know we've got some new YouTubers in our community, growing channels.
Mm-hmm.
Which games or which programs would you recommend to them to say, hey, this is what I think is easy. This is what I like to do, and this is what I would recommend you start out with.
You mean
So
software?
either software or cards and dice or whatever.
Oh, oh, you mean well? Uh, I
Like
mean,
specifically like gaming systems more as
oh,
opposed to.
oh, oh, oh,
So like
oh,
would you recommend Stratomatic?
oh,
Would
I
you
see.
recommend
Yeah.
Inside Pitch? Would you recommend what would you kind of recommend as people that might be starting up or maybe something that they don't do on their channel but maybe they want to add to their channel?
I mean, I think a great place to start is Stratomatic, because I think it's sort of the iconic, probably most well-known game, and baseball games are sort of the shortest that and it takes probably least time. And Strat has a nice basic feature where you're just getting to learn the mechanism. There's no lefty righty stuff going on. You're just playing out the at bats. You can make your changes to the lineup. You can make your pitching changes. There's lots of historical seasons, and and then as you go on with that, as you learn that, you can move up to advanced, and then you could even add in super advanced later on, which is pretty detailed. Uh, I think that's a good place to start. That's where I started, and I'm not sitting here trying to pitch for them or anything like that, but
No, that's perfectly fine. You tell us your opinion,
yeah.
whether
I can say that there have been times I've questioned the 50-50 mechanism of Strat. So anybody that's new to this kind of stuff, you've got 1 through 3 is hitter, 4 through 6 is pitcher, and so your hitter and your pitcher have sort of 50-50 distribution within the game as to who is going to take control of, whose stats are going to take control of an at bat or plate appearance or whatever you want to call it. So, there are other games that are probably more effective in trying to simulate how the batter and the pitcher sort of interact together. I really haven't played too many of those. I got more into other sports rather than picking up APA baseball and payoff pitch. I do have History Maker, which is kind of in its own league as far as the way that it simulates things. I feel like, just because it uses attributes instead of what I would say hard and fast stats. So, yeah, but I think Strat's a nice starting spot. Just, and I'm sure that, you ask Tabletop Earl, he'd probably say APA. So, but I would give that as, just because I had a lot of success with that myself. Felt right, felt good.
So this video is being brought to you by Stratomatic and History Maker Baseball. Be sure to subscribe to their channels and support their company so they can support us.
And I do not take any money from them. I don't think anybody does. But anyway.
Anyways, a big shout out to my moderators already who squashed one of the bugs that came into the channel. So thank you, Mr. Clinton Parks and everyone else. So for baseball games, Stratomatic would be your recommendation because of the ease of the play. I don't know how much you've watched some of what I do on my channel and stuff. I'm not a big Stratomatic guy because I think the system is great. I think the game plays well. It's quick. One dice roll usually gives you a result, which is keeps the game flowing nicely. I'm not a big fan of the actual company, which I'm not going to get into tonight. But so you're a big fan of Stratomatic. You would recommend it to people here on in the chat.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying. I know that they have somewhat a reputation, and I would say, just from observing things like their opening day, it seems like there could be a little bit more fanfare, a little bit more. I mean, I don't know. They probably do a pretty good job. I just, fortunately, I haven't really had a whole lot of negative experiences in ordering and things like that, but I'm sure that there are people who've done a lot of ordering with them and have had some mixed reviews. So I guess let the buyer beware. But
yeah, exactly.
I think if you're just starting out, it's probably not a big deal. But yeah, as you get involved in these things and you collect more seasons, and then you're trying to interact with them a little bit more to find something old, or
Right.
could be, yeah.
Right.
So
also, a big shout out to Sports Time Machine. I did see his comment earlier, and I forgot to actually mention him. So thank you. He is actually another newer channel that has joined into our gaming community, coming to a lot of the live streams, supporting everyone. I've seen him watching. I've seen him live stream. He does a great job in his channel. So Sports Time Machine as well. Thank you for coming by. So great job there.
it reminds me of the George Michael Sports Machine. I don't know if you ever remember that. That was like a late night. That was on it was on NBC back in like the 70s and 80s. It was like a sports wrap-up show on Sunday nights. And it was this older gentleman. And anyway, so it was the George Michael Sports Machine. It's anyway, that was just some random trivia.
All right. So as far as sports go, you've done racing. Did you enjoy doing
No,
the racing on your
I
channel?
I haven't done any racing actually.
I thought you did. Didn't you do the red, white, and blue?
No, I did not. That was Chris Strat Delaware.
Oh, maybe that was. I thought I saw that on your channel. It must have been mistaken. I'm getting old now. Who
That's
knows?
okay. That's
Um,
okay. I'm
but you
actually
done
more
you
of a
done
Formula One fan, but I don't have any games for that.
okay. But you
Yeah.
did the you done the golf there. You
Uh-huh.
done the soccer. You've started doing a soccer thing. How do you? I think that's kind of like the first bit of soccer you've done. Do you enjoy doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd started that at the end of last summer actually, and yeah, I do, and uh, I really took a liking to soccer back around the 2010 World Cup, and got to the point where I was pretty ardent watching the Premier League, from England, and Major League Soccer here in this country. Um, and so soccer seemed like, and I would say also Tabletop Earl was like, maybe you should check out soccer, because I know he knew that I had followed that before. And I guess I just, there's all these baseball games that are out there, and they're so, you know, uh, well covered, and a lot of people do them. And he's like, there's not too much out there for soccer. And so I went ahead and got at Soccer, and it doesn't have the reviews out there that I think it could. It takes some time to get used to, and if you're rolling dice, it's takes a bit of a tedious roll, I think. But if you get they have some fast action cards you can buy, it really kind of speeds it up. So, and I played some Soccer Blast, which is from Play. So yeah, I mean those two games are probably pretty similar as far as enjoyment goes, but they're like completely different style.
Right, right.
One's
I
sort of
get
like
that.
a condensed. Soccer Blast is condensed, and Atba is a little bit more. Yeah. Uh, I don't want to say tedious. That sounds so negative, but just you do a lot of possession stuff, whereas it kind of simulates it in Soccer Blast. Anyway.
You used to do like almost 100% live stream, and I noticed recently you've been kind of going to more upload as opposed to live stream. What percentage would you say is live versus upload?
I think ideally for me right now, it would be good to do 50-50 if I could just nail myself down to saying I have an hour to set aside that I know I'm not going to get interrupted a lot. And that can be tough to do, because I really don't like doing live streams and feeling like I'm going to get interrupted. If I do a baseball game and I do a live stream, it seemed like there for a while I was going to hit extra inning games every time, and then it becomes an hour and a half or 2 hours, and which everybody likes who's watching, because it's like free baseball. But as far as I know, they like it. But it can get a little bit weird, because we just have so much time allotted in the day, and I think that's one of the things that influences why I don't live stream as much as I used to. Because like you said, on the Tenacious Strat channel, I was really doing that a ton, because it
Right,
saves on upload times.
right, yeah, yeah, yeah. As we talked about, before we got on, there is advantages and disadvantages to live streaming because you're trying to run your game, you're trying to progress the game forward, but then you've got to stop and answer questions, which takes you out of the flow of the game, and it can drag the game on and on and on, because you want to interact with people, but you're constantly looking at the chat as opposed to concentrating on what you're doing, so you're forgetting what you're doing on the screen, and there's some pitfalls to actually live streaming.
Yeah. Well, and I think I'm not sure what the percentage of the people on the live stream are paying close attention to what's going on, as opposed to, I mean, it really serves as a nice place for people to get together and chat about their own projects. And the other nice thing is that there are lots of people out here who are doing live streaming now. So I mean, you've got a lot of games going on, and I think that gives people an outlet to come in and, like you say, chat amongst themselves, connect. Um, potentially, forge some friendships. I know that a lot of the people in your chat here today that you've been mentioning have, been on mine before, and it's great having them. But yeah, if I'm not doing live streams, I don't necessarily see them to interact with them in it. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's nice to be able to forge out some time and do it. And uh,
Yeah,
I,
and like you said, there's also a lot of pitfalls to it, but there is some great people that I've come across and met and have now built a relationship with and trust like a brother now.
mm,
People that a year ago I had no idea that they didn't even existed, and now I would rather spend my time listening and watching them do their thing than watch TV or watch something on the TV set. I would rather listen to them, communicate with them, email them, talk to them, and that is the power of the one of the pros to live streaming, as you mentioned.
yeah, I mean, I think that's well said. And yeah, you don't have to upload, which is nice. You now, like you said, if you're really trying to focus in on playing a game, it can take you a little more time because, like you say, you're trying to like look at the comments and you want to interact with people. And but if you don't mind setting aside an extra 20 to 30 minutes and just say, you know what, I'm going to take my time with this. I don't mind. It's going to be a longer video. I'm going to go ahead and check every inning or every so often and just take a few minutes to talk. And obviously you've done very well with that. So sounds like you've really put together some good interpersonal relate. I mean, clearly, I mean, I've been on the chat here when you've been doing these kinds of live chats. It's pretty clear that the guys that are in here are they like like each other and like you, and and very supportive, and they've been supportive of me in the past too. And I'm sure if I got more live streams going, it would help. Um, but yeah, it's.
Well,
But I also like the idea that the ones that I upload, I can put a little more production value in. So
I
that's
was just going to mention, I noticed the last three or four, you've now got like an introduction. You got these cool graphics that come in and out, and it's
trying.
like a big production. It's like watching a movie coming to your thing now.
Yeah, and I don't know. It'd be nice to have feedback about whether that's worthwhile or whether it's better to just go ahead and say, hey, let's fire up the camera, let's throw the dice out here, let's put the cards down, and let's just play, and let's just talk, and let's just do it. And maybe that's a better philosophy. I'm not sure. It's yeah, I think it's just going to always be sort of a an evolution of how we do things. And maybe one week it really feels like live streams is the right thing to do, and then the next week for me it might be I'm just really busy. I've got a band practice. I've got to take my kid here, and I just don't have the time really to sit down and say I'm just gonna veg out and chat with people. And so, and I mean, I've done a little bit of sort of like a live chat just where I sort of spout off whatever's on my mind, and that's kind of what I had decided to do as far as live streaming goes. But I don't know. I guess the game playing is probably a good medium for letting people just come in and just start chatting it up. And anyway, yeah. So I hope that made some sense.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, yeah, like I said, there's advantages and there's disadvantages when you're talking about live streaming. I've got some great moderators that come just about to every one of my live streams, so I don't have to worry about people posting messages or links or trying to spam stupid things. So there is some advantages, but there's also some downside to all that as well. So we're going to talk, we talked about this offline a little bit, but I kind of want to introduce and talk about this. It's kind of a touchy, not touchy subject is kind of the wrong word, but you did a replay
Hmm.
of the Philadelphia Phillies. You're a big, big Phillies fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And
especially then. Yeah, definitely.
what
Definitely then.
season? What season was it that you
That,
did? It
that was 2008. That was the World
2008.
Series campaign. Yeah.
Right. And I know I came a lot to those live streams, and you had some ups and downs running this project.
That's kind.
You had some ups. I'm trying to be kind. I'm trying to be kind.
The ups were
There,
ups and the downs
I
were.
was in some of those chats, and I was trying to be the supportive guy.
You're
Remember
trying to be friend. I know you were. Yeah.
that.
A lot of people were.
But we kind of talked about this offline. If I am going to do a replay, especially a long replay, as you mentioned, you like to do the long replays. If I'm going to do a long replay, it's got to be something that interests me. The problem with that is if you play your heart and soul team, you can run into some pitfalls. And I don't mean to bring this out, you know, specifically to kind of, against you. I'm just trying to let
That's
people
okay.
know if everyone knows that I'm a Cardinals fan, diehard Cardinals fan. I love them to death.
Hmm.
I will never, ever, ever do a Cardinals replay, specifically like, I'm going to replay the 2017 Cardinals because I'm just so invested in every single moment of that season, that game, and everything.
Hmm.
And you can run into problems with that. So why don't you just kind of, gloss over and tell people, here's what I experienced because you went through that.
So what did I experience? Yeah, I think you go into something. You go into all your projects. Like I go into mine. I'm a scientist, so I want to try and be unbiased. I want to try and do things in a way that will produce a result that I can sort of justify in my head that is like science, the probabilities all work out just right. I feel like when you do your own team, it really kind of throws that out the window. You've got a rooting interest and an investment that it's just an added layer of bias, which can be tough. It was an interesting project. I had so the guy who sort of turned me on to Strat, his name's he has a channel, RNGIDP. You know, so there was a convention last summer that he went to, and he's like, yeah, there are people that still talk about that Phillies replay. I'm like, really? I'm like, he's like, yeah, it's lore. I'm like, really? I mean, I know that I had some people that didn't particularly like some of the actions, and I absolutely think I acted pretty bratty at times, pretty off the wall, maybe loony. um, I think it really took, well, a couple of things. It took me back to that time when I was watching them. But getting back to the other point I was making about being a scientist is that I think another thing about being a scientist is that you want to do things exactly the same as real life. Like and you feel like you're letting yourself down if you fail. And there were times in that where I felt like I was failing what happened in real life. And I questioned the game. I know that there were times I questioned the mechanism of the game. That's where I was talking about the 50-50 mechanism earlier. Like Brad Lidge, he went without missing a save in that whole season in 2008. And that went away in like the first 30 games. He had blown a save, and he might have had 6 or 7 by the time it was all said and done. And and I think you can contribute that or attribute that to the mechanism because you're going to go off a hitter's cards, and when you go off a hitter's card, there's a chance you're going to hit a bomb, and no matter how many or how few are on the pitcher's side of it. So if you can have a realistic expectation of what you're getting into, I think that helps. I just think I got myself so wrapped up in wanting to reach the goals that they reached, and not necessarily win the World Series with them, but at least make the playoffs. And there was a period of time when it looked pretty desperate. um,
Yeah,
and
I remember towards the end, and you needed the Braves to lose so the Phillies could gain games on them. And every day the computer kept giving the Braves a win. And I remember how frustrated you were with
Yes,
that. It's like,
it's
how in
bringing
the hell did they give him another win that's like 8 in a row? How could that be?
it's bringing them. Yeah, you're bringing me back to this, man. Holy mackerel! Yeah, and I remember the game. I think it was against the Braves, and it was the first time that I want to say it felt like the first time they walked off. And it was a game that Lidge blew the save, and then they walked off. I don't know if Utley hit a home run. I forget. It seems like it was Utley. I'd have to go back and watch it. Um, but that was like this moment where because I think that was when they clinched it, and then they got swept by the Nationals in the final series. Which, if they hadn't beaten the Braves there, it would have been pretty. I don't know what I would have done then.
That I still think about that, and every time because I remember,
Mm,
I didn't come and watch every single game, but I came to a bunch. I would say maybe 20 or 30 or maybe more of those games, and just watching you and going and seeing the ups and downs. There was like a 6 game winning streak that you were on, and it was a totally different live stream than when the Phillies were. I remember at one point they were like 3 games below what they were in real life, and
mm.
you were like, I can't believe that this is not right. How can I be so bad? Every decision I made is right. What is going on
Yeah,
here? And it was just,
yeah,
it was
and
entertaining to say the least.
yeah, and I don't know. And then your mind starts playing tricks on you, and you start thinking like people are in there rooting for the Mets because they want to see you freak out, and then
Yeah,
you're freaking
yep.
out at
Because I
them,
remember,
and
somebody come in and say, "Go Mets," and oh
I'm like,
my God, it was like,
oh no.
it's
I
like,
mean, I'm having a laugh
whoa.
about it now, but
Yeah, it's
I
it's it's you guys. If you have not gone and checked out Tenacious Earl and his Phillies replay, it is a thing to behold.
well,
It was very entertaining, both good and bad.
I would I'd also say, I've gone back and forth since then because, like I said, Craig, this RNG IDP, he's, he mentioned that, and I'm like, so I've gone back and forth when I thought about it. Do I feel remorse somewhat for the way I acted? And I don't really feel. I feel some of it. Like if I treated somebody poorly that was on like a live stream or something, then I definitely feel remorse over that. Um, but I also, um, you know, I I hope it showed people that these things can help you to sort of relive the emotion that you once had when you watched your team do something and do something special. And, it can kind of bring you back to, 2008 when, I mean, my son was born that year. It was a great year. And that was just another part of it was, um, the Phillies winning it all, and
yeah,
and
yeah,
but there's a lot of investment there, and there was yeah, it was a memorable replay for many different reasons. Not all of
it
them
was
good.
very entertaining. It was very enjoyable. And I will say, I know, when you would spout it out, you would stop the game a couple times and said, "Hey guys, I apologize. I'm just, it's just an issue I've got to work out. I got to work through and stuff like that." So I always thought it was, I always had the utmost respect for you for, owning up to everything and saying, it's not you guys. It's on me, and it's how I feel about what's going on.
And I probably still haven't done enough of that where I've sort of owned it and you know paid my penance, so as to speak, because I don't know. I mean, like I said, I wouldn't want anybody to um, I wouldn't want anybody to feel like harmed by it. And I think there definitely were people that felt like they were sort of the lightning rod that just got pummeled. And I feel very bad about that. And I
Right,
just
right.
hope that anybody who happens to see this or is in the live stream You know, I'm probably not going to do another replay like that again.
Right, right.
But
And
uh,
that's like I said, I don't want
sure,
to call you out on what you had done,
no,
good or bad or anything like that. This is nothing against you at all. This is just if you guys at home are thinking about doing a replay of your favorite team, maybe you can learn something from somebody that's went through this already and experienced the highs and lows. Everybody wants to win. You know, if I started doing a 2011 Cardinals replay and they were like, 68 and 74, I would be like, pissed to, high heaven, and I'd be beside myself as well. So it's just that because of what I've learned from you, actually, and this is why I'm bringing this up. Not nothing against you. I'm bringing it up because I've
mhm.
learned don't do that. Don't for me because I'm like you. I I'm exactly kind of like you. I get emotionally invested in what I'm doing in my project, in my teams, and my support and my fandom. And if I was to do a Cardinals replay, and I had people constantly coming in and going, "Hey, go Cubs, go Cubs, go Cubs, go Cubs." It's great in the beginning, we're laughing back and forth and stuff, and we're having a good time. The Cardinals are all of a sudden 12 games out. I'm not having a good time when people come in and go Cubs, go Cubs, go Cubs,
Yeah,
and that's just human nature.
you get to August, yeah, that really starts to yeah, it gets a little old. It's it's really getting down the nitty gritty, and you know it. You've watched your team do this year in and year out, and watched other teams do it, and it gets really tough when you're out by 6, 7, 8 games to be able to come back from that. It's just you got some head to heads usually in the end of the season where you can work into that, but it's pretty tough. You got to win them all pretty much.
Yeah, yeah,
Against your rival, or else you're going to be losing some ground to them, or basically just treading water, and it just gets tougher and tougher. So yeah, I mean, I think we each know ourselves, and I'd say if you have trouble with, um, if you watch your team and you kind of have trouble with the adversity that they face, I'd say like if you're constantly like yelling at the ump that that strike was a ball. What the heck are you looking at? And you start have trouble
yeah.
controlling that, then you might want to stay away from it. If it's the type of thing where you can pretty well manage things and you're kind of even keeled, then you could, I would say, start. And if you run upon a time when you just are starting to lose control, it might be worth thinking about it again. But
Todd B says, "Note to self: don't root for Cubs on Jester's channel."
yeah,
See,
well,
we're getting the information out. That's important stuff that people got to know, right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so
it's
being a big Phillies fan, and again, I appreciate you sharing all that with everyone out there.
I
Because
knew it
like
was
I said,
coming.
like I said, I would be the exact same way if I was doing the Cardinals replay and they were not living up to my expectations and they kept losing. I had people coming in going, go Giants, go, whoever they were playing that day. It would start, in the beginning it's fun and it's just teasing back and forth, but eventually it starts getting worse and worse and worse, and it just everything starts piling on top of one another. And I think he did like I said, a respectable job of, there was a few interactions and outbursts and stuff like that, but of course you always came back and apologized and talked about that afterwards. So
Well,
um,
if you didn't ask me, I'd think you were not doing a very good job. So you,
that,
I think you needed to bring it up because I feel like it's definitely a defining moment of what my contributions to this art, whatever you want to call it, happens to
yeah,
be, for good or for bad. I don't know. I mean, that's to each can interpret that as they will, but it's definitely something that um, I don't know.
all right.
It'll live in infamy. How about that?
Yep, they'll always be there forever and ever.
Yep.
So let's talk about something a little more positive, or maybe positive, depending on your views. Being a Phillies fan, Bryce Harper just signed with the Phillies. Give us your take on it as a diehard Phillies fan. One give us your take on it. But my question to you will be: during Bryce Harper's 13 years, will the Phillies win at least one World Series?
Um, I mean, I think it's I think in the short term it's a very positive thing. I think it shows that they are kind of through with the era that they've had where they tried to um, just offload all that salary that they had built up over the years with the Utleys and the Howards and getting Halliday, rest in peace, and Cliff Lee, and et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, but just because you spend money doesn't mean it's going to be successful. I think they will, but I'm not sure he's going to be the main reason. I mean, I think most Phillies fans are just praying that Mike Trout eventually wants to come home to roost and play in Philly. And I mean, he was at the parade back in 2008. So, um, I think that would be a heck of an out. Well, if they put the DH, I know I'm not a big fan of it either, but if they put the DH in the National League, then that might make that contract for Harper look a little bit better. But yeah, I'm not sure it's necessarily going to be all him. I think they're going to have to get another couple pieces. And as much as Nola is a nice arm, and Arrieta does fine, I think they still need to get some better starting pitching before they can really start to think about going far in the playoffs. So,
All right. So, do the Phillies make the playoffs this year?
I think they'll sneak in as a wild card. I think.
Who do you
I think.
think wins? Who do you think wins the division?
I think the Braves probably will, but yeah, I don't know. I think they're coming on. I don't know. I mean that's sort of the sexy pick. I feel like as far as they've built kind of like the Phillies did too, except the Phillies now have kind of like gone out and just. I mean, well, who do you think?
I think the
You think you
Nationals are
think the
still going to
Nats?
take it. I
You
still
think
think the Nats are the team to beat, even though they lost Harper. I think with
pitching?
their pitching
Yeah,
is excellent. All right. I mean, probably one of the top 5 in the National League.
yeah.
So they just got to get the bats going again. And I think they got some young players. They got some good talent. I think the Nats are still the team to beat. Let us know in the chat what you guys think. Who's going to win the National League East this year? The Phillies, the Braves? Are you thinking the Nats are still going to do it? We're going to have a baseball preview show on my channel coming up in the next week or two.
Nice.
Where we're going to have some of our subscribers come on. Maybe we'll even have you come back, and everyone can give their predictions on what they think is going to happen coming up in 2019. So speaking of coming up in 2019, Earl says it will be the 2 teams in the World Series, and this will be the team that wins it.
Oh boy. Oh boy, I haven't even thought about this too much.
I'll tell you what, put that one on hold because I
Okay.
forgot to do something very important. We have time for our 3 truths.
No.
The 3 truths. So
Oh,
this will be our intro. We should have done it a long time ago. We'll have our final announcement at 10 o'clock. We'll do this again. Earl is just going to introduce his 3 truths to us this time.
okay. So these are the 3 truths. So I've got them written down here because I wouldn't remember them. All right. So number 1, when I was 18 years old, I was shot by a drunk hunter while I was mowing the lawn. Okay. Number 2, I've been published in the New York Times, the Los Angeles Times, and the Philadelphia Inquirer. And number 3, much of my college years were spent in college radio, serving as a DJ, a sportscaster, and general manager at WRUR FM and AM.
All right, there you guys go. There is his 3 truths, but one of them's a lie. I wanted to get that out now at 10 o'clock. We're going to go over and we're going to find out. We'll reintroduce this. He'll give us our 3 truths again. I'll ask a question about each one. Then we'll get you guys to vote at 10 o'clock which one is the lie. But let's find out more about Earl now, so you guys might get a little, inkling of which one may be the truth, which one may be a lie, right? Um, so yeah, you know what? I'm going to let you save your World Series pick because I think when we have our baseball preview show, I might have
Okay.
you come back and do it at that time.
All right.
So I
I'll
don't
do a
want
little more research.
to do. Um,
uh,
all
yeah.
right. So what other hobbies do you involve yourself with besides live streaming and stuff? Is there something else? I know you've got some kids, so you probably got a lot of time invested in them.
Hmm.
But is there any other activities? I know you enjoy golf. Are you an avid golfer or not as much or?
I'd like to be. I'm decent at golf. I mean, I can shoot in the 80s when I go out. Sometimes the 90s, but yeah, I probably only get out like 3 or 4 times a year. I play guitar and sing in my church band, so I won't go into too much detail about that, but that's kind of a hobby, if you will. I mean, I still like playing video games, and um, there's not a whole lot of other time for hobbies. I mean, I really like to try to get down and play down here in this room, and just because there aren't videos coming out on the channel doesn't mean I'm not playing a game on the table. But yeah, but there's also, you have to spend time with family, and you've got your work time, and you've got so many things that just really eat up the 18 hours that you're awake in a day.
Yeah.
So, um,
Mhm.
but I would say the guitar is probably the biggest hobby outside of this right now. But I've had a lot of other little, uh, you know, flight simming, and I don't know, just all sorts of different frisbee golf,
Okay.
which is
Cool.
a little
Cool.
different than golf. But
So we talked about the fact you're a big Phillies fan, but I
yeah.
noticed hanging in the background there is not a Phillies. What is that? And tell us about your love for your other sports
Uh,
teams.
So I don't know. Can you see that? That's the old. Actually, it's the old Sabres logo.
I
Uh,
love that logo. I'll go get my jersey right now.
the what do they call that? The goat head, the satanic goat head, or something like that. Yeah, that was during their '99 run to the Stanley Cup Finals. That was their logo, and then they went through the shrimp. So yeah, the Buffalo sports mostly for me. So Bills, Sabres, suffering for quite a while with each of those teams. Although the Bills did make the playoffs last year. I mean, well, 2 seasons ago, I guess now. Um, I like the Phillies. I like Penn State football is kind of a like a college football team. I don't watch much basketball, but if I were going to watch college basketball, I'd probably root for Syracuse because another Western New York kind of connection. I went to a D3 school, so um, that kind of makes rooting at the basketball tournament and in the the playoffs for the NCAA football a little bit tough. So that's why I kind of stick with Penn State and Syracuse. I like the Philadelphia Union for soccer. Never really picked up a rooting interest in the English Premier League, and I guess that's about it, right, for sports. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't really have a favorite golfer. I think I was, a big fan of the era from like the '80s and '90s when I was growing up and watched a lot of golf on TV.
See, and so you grew up in kind of Western New York, and we talked about this offline. I originally was born and raised in Western New York. Did you find it like myself? Buffalo didn't have a baseball team, so there wasn't anybody really to root for. It wasn't on TV a lot.
Hmm.
So did you find yourself easily, becoming a Phillies fan because you didn't have any love connections? For me, it was very easy to become a Cardinals fan because I didn't have that connection. I'm a Sabres fan, a Bills fan, and then moving away, I found it easier to replace the Bills and the Sabres with other teams. But because it was harder to do that because I already had a connection. For baseball, it was very easy for me because, well, growing up in Western New York, we didn't have a choice. So when I started following the Cardinals, that was an easy pick, and I didn't have any previous loves.
Hmm.
So did you find that experience the same way? But hey, I didn't have a baseball team. I like the Phillies, and then that's how I'm going to follow them.
Well, when I was growing up, I was a Yankees fan. My grandfather watched them on television, so and that was in the era when the Yankees weren't particularly good. I mean, they were just, and it was really tough to get in the playoffs. Um, so that was like Mattingly and Paliarulo and Roden and some of these other guys, Steve Sachs, and they went through a bunch of outfielders and and pitchers and stuff, and they were always sort of like a bridesmaid and never a bride in that era. And then I got to the point where it just seemed like free agency kept whisking players away. And I grew up with baseball cards, and I kind of knew where all the players were, and then free agency just sort of like took them and threw them up in the air, and then you didn't know where. And so I just lost interest. And then I think the strike also kind of happened in the 90s, and I just was like, screw this. I'm a Bills fan. The Bills are, coming off of like 4 straight Super Bowls, and baseball. It's what am I going to do? So I didn't get a chance to root for the Phillies during the '93 run where they lost to Toronto. I guess I mean I remember the '80 World Series being on television, and probably more so like '83. Um, yeah, the Phillies didn't come until about 2000. Went to a
Okay.
game. Went to a game up in Philly. I was working down this way now, or at that point, and my boss was a Phillies fan. And he's like, "You should go check out the Phillies sometime." I'm like, "Why? They suck." And and then I went up there, and I got inculcated into the you know booing the team and like yelling at the umps, and calling Chris Brock a horrible reliever, and why did you get him, and and all these other guys they brought in that stunk. And it was just like, hey, this is my team. And then they got good, but for a while it was slim pickings.
All right, absolutely. So, you follow football, you follow the hockey, you follow the baseball, you follow a lot of different sports.
Mhm.
So, what is your favorite sort of decade? If you look back and go, this is like, are you like a 1908 baseball or 1940s, 1960s, 2010s? What would be like the decade if you were to say this is like the perfect sports frame for me?
Oh, I mean, it would have to be the '90s, I would say, because if I could get some of those Bills teams from the early '90s, and then you had a lot of good teams from the '90s for the Sabres. You had your Pat LaFontaine, McGillney, Hasek in there. Grant Fuhrer was a goalie for them for a while, and Howard Chuck. But obviously the Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Cornelius Bennett, Bruce Smith. I mean, all those Bills teams too. So I mean, as far as my rooting interest, that was really sort of the bread and butter until the Music City Miracle, and the no goal against Dallas for the Sabres, and then it all fell apart after that.
Uh, and of course, it had to be Brett Hall who scored it too.
Yeah.
Every time he comes in and does his little announcement on Wednesday Night Hockey, I just like go want to reach in there and grab him because he's like, "Oh no, it was a goal, it was a goal."
No,
Oh,
it wasn't.
yeah. So the fact that Buffalo has never won a major championship, now they won some AFL before the
Right.
NFL merged together, but they haven't actually won anything. But we still hold out hope.
It's like
One of these days, somebody's going to break through, right?
I feel like it's such a unifying thing. I mean, I can I can watch videos on YouTube and of those old teams, and there's like Tim Russert talking about. He was a ardent Buffalo Bills fan, and he passed away. But to be able to like hear him talk about them so passionately, and whenever I hear of somebody being a Bills fan, like a celebrity or yeah, I mean, even just meeting somebody in real life, it's like there's a solidarity there because, and maybe a lot of teams have that, but I don't know. I think it's so much easier to root for the Steelers. There's so many Steelers fans, or now the Patriots because they won so much. It's not that hard. I mean, you go and watch a game and they win, and you feel good, and you go watch Buffalo and they lose, and it's like, oh, why am I doing this? What happened to my Sunday? but we like you say, we hold out hope. One day it's going to go our way, and when it does, I hope I'm still alive.
That's the problem. I don't see anything in the near future. That's the problem. It's not like the
We're talking
Sabres are
proud, man.
dominating anything, and it's not like the Bills are dominating. Now they, like you said, that 2 seasons ago they actually made the playoffs and they got knocked out in the first round. So where's our hope coming from?
Uh, Josh Allen.
Well, I think Josh Allen is actually going to turn out to be pretty good.
Well, if he does, that will go a long way. But
I mean, he
yeah.
did well the games he started. Unfortunately, he got hurt, so he missed a lot. But I think that actually might have helped because there's nothing worse than getting a quarterback and putting him in on a crappy team and getting the crap beat out of him for 2 seasons. And then when he's supposed to start to become good, his body breaks down because he's just been beat on so much.
Yeah. I mean, he's got to figure out how to do it through the air and not so much with his legs. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, he's a big guy, so hopefully he's pretty durable. But yeah, I mean, when you think about the Sabres and you see how much promise they have, and then they just go out there each night and find a way, they get ahead by a couple of goals and they find a way to give up 3 in a row. It's kind of like, it just, again, just rips out your heart every time. You're like, when are we going to get, when are we going to get a team that actually like performs and,
Right.
Meets expectations or surpasses them? And, yeah, I mean, maybe the 2 years ago, the Bills backing into the playoffs was it. I don't know. We'll see, I guess.
Right. Hey, Higher Ground Gaming is also in the chat there now. So, Higher Ground Gaming, thanks for coming by. If you've joined in the last little bit, I'm sorry I haven't been able to check out the chat very often.
You guys are awesome.
But everyone, if you wouldn't mind hitting that big thumbs up button and showing Tenacious Earl some love here, let him know what a great job he's done to come on. Let's talk about next week's interview, which I have not announced yet because I've been waiting for the right moment.
You could cut the suspense with a knife.
Next week, we're going to have the talented, we're actually having our first female guest on our live stream. We are going to have the talented, the lovely, the beautiful Living My Rhapsody is coming on next Tuesday night, 8 o'clock here on the channel. Yeah.
Trying to do the crowd.
Living My Rhapsody, if you guys have not checked out her channel, she does a lot of Game of Thrones. She does some Doctor Who stuff. She does fantasy. She's actually an author of a book. She's very talented. She does interviews like I do of a lot of people. So we'll get to talk to her about interviewing and talking to other YouTubers out there. She has a growing community. And so I'm really looking forward to talking to Living My Rhapsody. So check out her channel if you have not done that yet. Next Tuesday night, 8 o'clock, will be her interview time. If you guys have not signed up for your interview time yet, you can email me. It'll be a link in the description, as I know Stratomatic Delaware has been spamming that all night for you guys. If you've not set up your time, just like Earl has done, all you need to do is email me at idjesterlive@gmail.com. And we have the next opening will be March 19th. March 19th. So if you're available March 19th, that'll be the next available time I have. Send me an email and we'll see if we can get you scheduled to come in and just sit down and have a chat with you, talk to you, find out about yourself, find out about your community, find out about your channel, whatever you want to, bring up and talk about. And so we can just have a good time and talk with you. So make sure you do that. And as I mentioned, Stratomatic Delaware has the link already in the channel there for you guys to do that. Why don't you give us an update on the projects you're currently doing on your channel, and
Okay.
then things you're thinking about, like upcoming projects that's going to come on.
Okay, well, the Tenacious Baseball League 2.0 is a Strat Super Advanced League. I've been doing quite a few games with that up until about, I'd say, 2 weeks ago. I'm I'm about 40 to 45% of the way through, so it'll be nice once I hit halfway. But then it's kind of like downhill from there. But I kind of got out of that rhythm, and I got at the soccer out, and you saw that there was a couple of videos published recently. That's match week 2, so there's 38 weeks in that. I'm not sure if I'm ever going to get through that project, but doesn't mean I'm not going to try. um, yeah, I have Soccer Blast. I'm actually in a league with 7 other managers, and we did a draft of the Major League Soccer roster from, I think it's the 2016 roster, and so we have 2 divisions with one team's going to promote from the bottom, and the other's going to relegate from the top, the worst. Like the worst is going to move down, the best is going to move up, and we're playing that with Soccer Blast, and I haven't won yet with my team that's in the top division. So and that's in 4 weeks. So I'm pretty I'm in pretty rough shape.
Oh,
I might be looking at relegation. It's not so good, but we're having fun with it. And yeah, things coming up. I mean, I really want to start another Tenacious Golf Tour, and I think once Play releases the new updates for those cards, I've got a ton of courses, so it's just a matter of, I already have the schedule set up. It's just a matter of getting those cards.
so you
I
have like
yeah.
an intro to the season video like you did the first time, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I would probably do that for sure.
Because I'm sure there's a lot of people that might be interested but have never seen it and don't know what you're doing and how the system works.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I also have some American football. Soccer's international football. I have second season, which is a play game, and I want to say I'm 4 weeks into that with I call it 9-acious instead of 10-acious because there's 9 teams, and so I do the double round robin schedule, and so that equals 16 games, which is the same as an NFL season. So that's kind of where I formulated that from. So I've gotten a little ways in that. I really would like to pull that out here soon at some point, but I'm also the kind of guy that likes to do things in segments. And if I'm doing it like I said, a match week of ATBA soccer, that's 10 games. I'd like to get that all in the can before I move on to something else. So, and I mean, I have like History Maker Baseball, the newest version. I haven't even opened it up. So it's like, I've got sets I haven't done much with, and I still have percolating in my head what else I'd like to go out and maybe get a hold of and try to embark on. So I'm not going to go into that right now, but
Okay, all right,
there's there's definitely some things percolating, and just trying to figure out what I have time for.
absolutely.
Because there's a lot on my plate.
There's never enough time for everything we want to do. That's for sure.
Yeah, right.
All right, guys, we're going to be coming up on the 10 o'clock. At 10 o'clock, we're going to do our 3 truths again.
Okay.
If you guys have any questions for Tenacious Earl, type them in the chat now. Let's see if we can get some of our chat involved here if they have anything. Don't forget, guys, hit that like button. Show some love for our guest tonight who, signed up for his interview time and has done a great job just, talking about everything that he's experienced and hopefully sharing some of that stuff with you guys out there so you guys can get a chance to understand the highs and lows of things. So if you guys have any if you guys have any questions in the chat. So here's a question, Stratomatic Dell. Earl, Our meeting is way overdue. Name a time and a place, and we will roll dice together, brother. Stratomatic, Delaware. So I'm taking it you're probably around there somewhere.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we're within spitting distance, but we're not that far off from each other as far as like distance goes. So, yeah, we definitely need to do that. It's funny. There's a brewery in the town that he's I don't know. He might. I think he works there actually, but or maybe I don't know. One or the other. And we talked. I was there a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, I messaged him like, we should meet here and play a couple games, and have a couple beers, and and it's just life goes on, and as the wheels turn, those kinds of things just kind of like get ground in and don't ever really materialize. And I agree, Chris, we should try and get that together here very soon. So. I'm not sure I'm ready to name a time and a place right here on the live stream, but
You don't want to do that. You never know who's going to be watching,
how
right?
about Jester's house tomorrow night? You're getting company, man.
Larry Rice has a question for you. Any lessons you learned from your HMG tour season?
Any lessons I learned from it? Um, I would say plan fewer tournaments probably than what you'd like to. Like I think I did. I want to say 24 tournaments.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think if you were just trying to start out an HMG tour, maybe go with half that to start. So it's something that you can accomplish relatively easily. I mean, I really kind of, and then I had the secondary tour, so that was another 8 events on top of that. So,
wow.
Yeah, I would say that's maybe, and he may be talking about gameplay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still trying to get a full grasp on the best chip strategies and things like that. But yeah, I mean, I love the game. It's a really cool
You'd
way to
recommend it for people then, right?
Yeah. I mean, in the tournament mode, it's about the only way you can play a tournament with a golf game, I think, because if you're trying to, play out everybody through, 36 holes, you got like 164 golfers, 36 holes, and then you take the second 36 and you cut it down to like 72. I mean, it's going to take you forever if you play one of these other games. But the mechanisms that play has come up with to simulate the first 3 rounds really just allows you to get to the final day and play 18 holes with 12 golfers, and you wrap it up, and it takes probably 3 hours to play that 18 holes. But I mean, you can break it up into shifts if you want. You can do the first 6, the second 6, the third 6, just when you have time. But sometimes it's just better to rock through it and try and get an afternoon, a nice Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon. Yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
Clinton Parks has a question. He says, Earl, what was your Division III school? He says his was the University of Southern Maine, known for their baseball team. So he's interested to know what your Division III school was.
It was the University of Rochester.
There you go. University of Rochester. The fighting what are they known? What
The Yellow Jackets.
Yellow Jackets. All right. Welcome to the statistician as well. He's on their channel as well. He has a question. He says, Earl, if Trout signs with the Phillies in 2 years, will you A, cry happy tears, B, drink yourself into oblivion, or C, both A and B?
There might be D, and that's plan my next Phillies replay.
That was actually a question posed by Sports Time Machine. If the Phillies win in 2019, will you replay the next year with the new cards?
Well, I might.
Good question. He was paying attention. Give that boy an A for paying attention.
Who? Me or him?
No, him for paying attention to what you had said, right?
Yeah, I think now as long as he doesn't take a life insurance policy out on me, that's because that might be a decent bet. Just lay down a couple bills on there and say, hey, he might just no, I don't know that. I would definitely both. I would say statistician, right? Yeah.
Yes, the statistician. Very, very good. Um,
Maybe not oblivion though.
yeah,
I would just probably have drink myself to a real nice happy place. How about that? Not oblivion.
I think there's going to be several teams next year that don't spend because they're thinking they're going to be in the running for Trout in 2 years. Um,
So what? So what if the Phillies were to trade for him? Then those teams would all go.
I mean, everyone's
"Eh."
kind of under the assumption that he would come back to Phillies because he doesn't play baseball for the money, blah, 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 blah. He's from Philadelphia. He's invested in the area. I just don't see that happening. But we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that later. Clinton Park says he knows of that school. They got a pretty good hockey team. University of Rochester hockey team must be pretty good.
Um, if they do, back when I was in school, all they had was club team. You might be thinking of Rochester, and there's also, well, I don't know if there's a University of Rochester, Minnesota, but we had some pretty decent at one point football and basketball teams, but yeah, the athletics were actually what they have a good team is squash.
Well, there you go.
They've been very good, and usually they're pretty good in soccer. But yeah, I don't know. They don't. I don't think they have an actual. Well, maybe they've recently started, and if so, then I should get on board.
D. Scott Howard says Rochester used to be strong in philosophy. My friend friend of mine went there. He says so. We must know something about that.
Rochester used to be strong in photography. I mean Kodak at least. Eastman Kodak,
Oh, there you go.
the
There
city.
you go.
Yeah, I mean it's a research institution mostly. But yeah, I mean they've got philosophy. They've got physics and I mean optics. With Bosch and Lomb was based in Rochester, so they had a really good optics program there too. So not to get into too much detail about academics at that school, but it's I mean it was a good time. Yeah.
All right, we got just a couple minutes. We're going to get back to our three truths. So if you have any other questions for Tenacious Strat here, give us a quick chat. Type your question in the chat, and I've really enjoyed my time speaking with you. We have that. I mean, one of the reasons I came to your channel originally was I was under the impression that you were, living in Western New York.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Well,
and I had that connection. I'm like, oh, this guy's from where I used to live, So
yeah, and then we had like Phantomatic. He's also from up around that area too. But yeah, I mean I spent plenty of time there, and I root for their teams. But yeah, I'm technically a PA boy, so yeah, sorry.
you haven't done any hockey on your channel. Any thoughts about? I mean, you're obviously a big hockey fan.
I have Hockey Blast. I just like we've talked about, the time
It's
is
never enough time, right?
and getting into the Soccer Blast league has kind of like taken a little bit of extra time to where I kind of had to put Hockey Blast away and say, maybe in a couple months when I kind of like get through some other things. Yeah.
Right, right. There's never enough time. I mean, I just started a project last night, and I'm like, God, why did I start another project? Because I got all these other ones I'm trying to finish. So all right, let's get into it. Let's find out. Now, last week we had Dave Little on.
Uh-huh.
And Dave Little gave us his three truths. And there was only two people that were correct. Me and Bubba Husky. So Bubba Husky, I'm counting on you again this week to back me up. We're going to go through the three truths. Let's find out who is correct this week. So Tenacious he's going to give us his first truth. I'm going to ask him a question about it. He's going to give us his answer. Then he's going to give us his second truth. I'm going to ask him a question. He'll give us our answer. Then he'll give us his third truth. I'll ask him a question. And then it'll be your time to vote on which one of those three is a lie. So, number one, give it to us.
When I was 18 years old, I was shot by a drunk hunter while I was mowing the lawn.
Oh my God. I mean, uh, did I'm trying to ask questions that are like so obvious that it's going to be a lie or not. So I'm trying to think of just a normal question, but obviously being shot was you didn't have any physical ailments afterwards, did you?
No.
Okay. Truth number two, it's shot by a drunk guy while you're mowing the lawn. Number two, go over to us.
Okay. I've been published in the New York Times, Los Angeles Times, and Philadelphia Inquirer.
When you were published in those three different publications, was it all for the same thing, or were they different things that you were published for?
All for the same thing.
All for the same thing. All right.
Well, the same.
Were they
The same. We'll say the same genre. How about that?
okay? But not like the same article.
Right.
Okay. Okay. And number three.
Okay. Much of my college years were spent in college radio, serving as a DJ, sportscaster, and general manager at WRUR FM and AM.
What did you do? Morning, afternoon, evening, or night?
I did middle of the night. I also did afternoon when I got onto FM, and I also did some afternoon when we were doing like a sports show. But also, obviously, when we did games, we broadcast games whenever the games were going on. So,
all right. So you guys have 1 minute to type in which one you think. So Ken Castro says number two. Looks like Stratomatic Delaware says it's number one is the lie. Ken Castro says number one is the lie. If you want to vote this week, number two, Rob Explanation Point says number two is the lie. Sports Time Machine says number one is the lie. Quentin Park says number three. Larry Harris says number two. Robbie Wartburg says number one. Ken Castro says number one. The statistician says number two. Higher Ground Gaming says one is the lie. Dave Whittle says number two is the lie. Larry Rice says number one is the lie. All right, guys, you got about 10 more seconds. D. Scott Howard finally announced number three is the lie. All right, so now it comes down to IDJESTER's prediction. These are really, as I told you offline, these are three really good ones because they all sound true, but they all could be lies, right? I mean, that's what you want. Is
that's what I'm trying to do.
You want all three of them to sound like, yes, this could be true, but this could be a lie. But I'm going to go with my gut feeling and say number three is the lie.
Okay.
So let's hear which one is the lie.
Well, I was never published in the Philadelphia Inquirer. I was published in the New York Times and the Los Angeles Times crossword. I created crosswords that were published in both of those papers, but not in the Philadelphia Inquirer. So that is the lie, number two.
Oh, number two is the lie. Damn, I didn't get it this week. Number two, Ken Castro, the statistician, got it right. Dave Whittle got it right. Robbie Explanation Point got it right. Ken Castro got it right. Congratulations, guys. You figured out what which one he was lying about. Good job on that. So
they all had some truth. That's I mean, two of them were true, but the lie had a decent amount of truth in it. That was what I was trying to get
Dave
at.
Dave Little says, "Ha ha ha! Victory's mine this week."
So.
So what we found out is Dave Little can tell when people are lying, but he's not a good liar because I caught him last week. Um, so you were actually shot. So tell us about that story if you don't mind.
Oh, well, yeah, I was mowing the lawn, and the neighbor, which, I mean, where I grew up, it's very rural, and the houses were many yards apart, but he was on sort of the opposite side of the valley, and according to him, he was hunting duck with a 243 rifle.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I had on my track uniform. I did track and field. I did the throwing events, and I was mowing a lawn. I had gotten my driver's license earlier in the day because I had to get it retaken. That's a whole other story. And I was pushing it up the hill, and I heard like a gunshot, and then I'm like, I don't know. I mean, there's lots of gunshots that happen up in that area because hunting's pretty popular. So then, and my dad heard it. He was, and then I then heard it. I mean, I don't even remember if I heard it, but then all of a sudden I just like felt this like pushing me around and kind of like spinning me around a little bit, and it kind of got me from the back, in the side, through the front. It was basically a flesh wound. If I had lost a little bit of weight, maybe it would have just grazed the skin. I don't know, but yeah, it was my mom, my aunt, and my grandmother were sitting in the front window of the kitchen and saw me basically like go down, and it was I mean, it was, I didn't miss any school. I mean, I was a senior, and I got to school the next, on Monday. It was a Saturday. On Monday, I went to school. I was like the hero because
Right.
and
Yeah. It's like, hey, look at me. I got shot. Did you
yeah,
get any dates from that?
no, I probably should have tried harder.
You
That
should
would
have.
have
You
been,
should have been like, oh man, look at how tough I am. I just got shot and I'm back in school.
yeah, yeah. That tells you how dumb I was.
All right. Well, tell us about number three. I'm very interested. So you were actually like a sports announcer then for a while. How
Yes.
long did you do that?
2 years I did the sports announcing. We did the football. I did some basketball, but I did a lot of statistician kind of stuff for the radio broadcast for their basketball team. It was great because we got to do some traveling. So they were and they still are in the University Athletic Association, which is it has like Washington University, St. Louis, it has University of Chicago, Brandeis up in Boston. So we got to do some flights. Emory down in Georgia. So I got to sort of some traveling out of it that was pretty cool. And actually got to call a game with Brian Dable, who is he was a safety for them at the time. So
Wow. Nice.
I'm sure you're familiar with him.
Yep. Yep.
um, so yeah, it was. But yeah, I got to the point where I was general manager of the station, which was cool. We broadcast all through the city. We had a time where the transmitter was not able to broadcast because we had some like interference issues. But that's a real boring story. Nobody wants to hear about that. So, but yeah, it was a great time. I should have been spending more time studying though, probably.
Probably. Probably instead of having more fun. Would you have liked to continue on doing that, or you're now some do with science? So which
Yeah,
would you have rather? Which path would you have rather gone down?
I think I probably chose the right path for me. Um, I didn't have, there was no major in, like communications there. Like I said, it's a kind of a research institute. So, um, I think I think it would have been a fun path to go down would be to try and do radio or sportscasting. And I mean, I guess that's kind of why I do this. I've done some podcasting and soccer and things like that in the past. I guess that's why I got interested in doing that, is because it's kind of a hobby in itself, and is calling games. We call games here on the tabletop or on the computer screen.
Right.
So
Right.
so I get the best of both worlds, I guess. I can be a scientist and do some
and
calling.
get to do that as a hobby. So you
Yeah,
got, it's hard to be a scientist as a hobby, right?
and I can't get fired doing this here. You know, it's like
Right,
unless my
right.
wife kicks me out, which may be
Hey
close.
guys, don't forget to hit that like button. And just a quick reminder, next week, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the lovely Living My Rhapsody will be a live interview. We'll be interviewing her. She normally interviews people, so she'll be on the other side of the table. She's a fun time to have. So definitely check out her channel. We'll get to talk to her about all things Game of Thrones, and we'll get to talk to her about things she's done. She's a published author. She's very intelligent. She does a great job with her interviews. So go subscribe to her channel if you haven't already. If you guys have any last few questions here for Earl before we let him go, I'd appreciate it. And don't forget to give a big thumbs up. And, appreciate your time coming out to this evening and meeting with you. Like I said, we're going to have a couple, I'm hoping like before the season starts, like late March, I'm going to have a couple baseball preview shows. Like to have you come back on during that time.
Sure.
I got a lot of different baseball people on my channel here. We're going to kind of get everyone to give their opinions on, who's going to win the divisions, who's going to win the playoffs, who's going to win the World Series. And then, once the season ends, we'll get all back together and get to review everyone's picks for the
Oh boy.
season. So we might
Pay
have a
the
couple
piper.
episodes because I don't want to have too many guests all at the same time. So we'll
Earl,
be
your
doing that.
picks sucked. Look at how
Well, I
bad
don't
they
want
did.
to do it too fast because there's still a lot of free agents out there, because,
Right, right.
they could make it just, um, Sports Time Machine's asking, are you a volunteer fireman?
Um, I'm not a volunteer fireman. I am a. I do participate in the emergency response team at work, and my. I would kind of like to, but again, time is a real tough thing. I think if I were to live closer to home, I probably would do so because there's some family that is involved in that. So I do wear some stuff that has insignia on it. Some of that is my work, response team, and the other is from supporting some local stuff back where I grew up. So,
So baseball demos, we talked about this earlier, but since he wasn't here, he's asking about your thoughts on the Harper signing. So we talked about it. Why don't you kind of give him a brief overview of what you thought about the Harper signing?
well, I mean, I think it's exciting to see them try and really, I think, make a push to improve in a big way. It's a lot of money to spend, and it's a lot of money at the back end of that contract. So, you have to wonder if it's going to come back to bite them later on. But, I think in the short term, and especially if the National League does go to the DH, it could be the type of thing where they can try and preserve him for as long as they can. And baseball demo, thank you again for he gave me the copy of History Maker Baseball that I originally had, and he's been a friend, and appreciate him and some of the stuff he's done to help sort of support me over the time. I mentioned him earlier along with Tabletop Earl as a couple of guys that I really looked up to when I started doing this. So it's great to have him here on the channel.
Yeah, guys, and one more time, I'm going to talk about baseball demos just for a second. Projects he's working on. If you're a YouTuber, part of our community, or interested at all, check out the video he's done. He's going to start creating cards for Team Jester. I would recommend you join Team Jester as opposed to Beatles Eternally because we're going to beat down the beats. That's our motto. Beat down the beats. So check out his video. You can either email him your information on the player card you'd like to, kind of your stats and stuff, or you can post a comment on the video as well. But let's start getting that going. He needs at least like 40 people. So we can create two good teams and then pit us against one another in maybe a 7-game playoff. So let's support him and get that information to him so we can get these cards created and get that YouTubers IDJESTER's team versus Beatles Eternally team. So check that
See,
out on Baseball Demo.
I might talk some trash about Beatles team, but then I might be like one of the last ones picked. And so if I end up on his team, I might just be on the bench forever. It's like, wow, what a sad sack.
Yeah, what a sad sack. Oh my goodness. All
Yeah.
righty. Well, I've had a great time tonight, guys. I've had a great time talking with our special guest. Like I said, when we come back with our baseball preview show, I'd like to have you come back for that. Great
Okay.
information. You're a very enjoyable guy. I enjoyed your channel. Again, I didn't want to bring up anything negative about the
No,
whole
it's
thing, but I think it's important, bring it up and talk about it, and let people know that if you're going to do something with a project, there can be, side effects and consequences, not against you, but it's just,
no, it's
human
and,
nature. So
and I would just say, do this is supposed to be for fun. I mean, it's really supposed to be. And granted, there are going to be times when we do something for fun and it will stir up some things. But just if you're rolling a game and you've been rolling it a lot and you're just kind of like feeling a little dead in it or dry in it or something, go, if you've got another game, maybe you got to go pick that one up for a little bit and just play some. Don't let yourself get to the point where you're just sort of like just feeling, like I said, dry, and sort of getting sort of disgusted or anything like that. Just have fun with it, and if you're getting a little bit hot under the collar because you picked a project that kind of like ruffles your feathers something, then just don't be afraid to set it aside. I mean, I think that was a key learning that I talked about after that project. So, but yeah, I appreciate the opportunity here to talk about it. I mean, I've talked about it on the channel sparingly, so this is kind of a nice opportunity to open up, and I appreciate you being so kind with discussing this.
Dr. ID Jester. So that's what I'm here for. Come tell me all your little sins, and we'll forgive you for them.
I mean, I see your couch there, but this
There you
this
go.
stool that I'm
Come
sitting on is
come
not as
join the couch.
comfortable.
Come join the couch. A great talk with you. Just a
Yeah.
shout out to everyone that came and supported us tonight. So big thank you to everyone. Ken Castro, Baseball Demos, Higher Ground Gaming, Stratomatic Delaware done an excellent job moderating tonight. He's posted the link to your channel, my channel, my email, everything without me even asking. So thank you to Stratomatic Delaware. If you guys aren't subscribed, make sure you check out his channel as well. Ken Castro. Um, Bobby and Robbie and the statistician, Larry Rice, D. Scott Howard, Dave Whittle, Larry Rice. Ooh, a lot of great people that have come out tonight. So thank you all for coming out. Larry Harris, I'm not sure if I mentioned him or not. Retro Sports Network, Sports Time Machine. I don't want to forget him like I forgot him the first time, so apologize for that. New to the community, Sports Time Machine. Go check out his channel. Does a great job and really makes you feel like you're part of actually what he's doing, which is really fun and interesting. You kind of like, you're here at the ball game. I want to move you up to the press box so you can get a better view, stuff like that. Great time. So check out Sports Time Machine on
And,
his channel.
and I mean,
Uh,
you can I mean, you guys that are watching live and the people that are watching it after the fact. I mean, you guys are the reasons that we do this. I mean, uh, I used to say to myself, I do this. I'm trying to do this for myself, but I mean, it's definitely we're trying to entertain. We're trying to support. A lot of you are going to be players of these games, and to try and whether it's giving you ideas, trying to light a spark in you to be able to do the things on your table that we get a chance to do here on the channel, or on you do on your channel, we do on our channel. Um, but I mean, I hope that we can inspire you, and to have the opportunity to do that is just a really awesome thing. I mean, I'm grateful for the technology we have that we can kind of do this, and I hope that we bring that off for all of you, that we can um, be bring you content that's going to entertain you and also kind of like, give you ideas, and and then you can share those with us, and that can give us ideas, and we can just make this one big happy family.
And I think it's well said what he just said. Just the community and the support everyone gives, not only myself, but all the people that I've just mentioned, and Tenacious Earl and everyone that goes and supports every one of us. We do appreciate everything you've done. So big round of applause. Thank you very much for that. So
Thank you for giving me the chance to talk here and open up a little bit. So
I'm glad to have you, my friend.
sorry to have
And
stumped you.
you've been the first, so there's always that. You're the first to
Yes.
stump me. All right, guys, we will see you next Tuesday night, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Living My Rhapsody, the talented, the beautiful, the mysterious Living My Rhapsody. Can't wait to talk to her as well, find out all about her and her channel, and to find out the pitfalls and the support that she was driven through to actually become a published novelist, and everything that she's done and how she decided to become an interviewer on her channel. A big thank you to Tenacious Earl for coming on tonight and being supportive of my channel. So I do appreciate him for that, and everyone that came out to view us tonight. Thank you so much. So I hope everyone has a great week. We will see
Good
you
night.
live next week, next Tuesday night. Living My Rhapsody here at 8 o'clock. Thank you so much, guys. Love you all.